The sky over the Empire's capital was calm, almost peaceful. But that calm did not last long. Suddenly, sensors began to beep across the planet. The Empire's military control room lit up with red alarms. Every officer froze, staring at the giant screen in disbelief. Something massive was approaching. Something that should not exist. On the monitor, a warship appeared. Not like any other the Empire had seen before. Its hull was dark, almost black, and shimmered with strange patterns of light. It was huge, far larger than any human ship ever built. It moved with an eerie grace, gliding through space as if it were alive. The officers whispered among themselves, their voices trembling. "It can't be human. It's impossible." Word spread quickly. Citizens stared up at the sky through their windows, their eyes wide with fear. The news broadcasts were filled with frantic voices, trying to describe the monster ship that floated silently in orbit. The Empire's leaders gathered in the High Council chamber, faces pale and eyes wide. Scientists, engineers, and generals crowded together, trying to understand what they were seeing. A young officer, barely 20, broke the silence. "Sir, sensors say it's not just big. The energy readings, they are alive. It's moving like a living creature." The generals stared at each other. None of them wanted to speak. They had all studied space warfare, but nothing prepared them for this. Every weapon in the Empire's arsenal was designed for machines, not something that could think, react, maybe even feel. Suddenly, the massive warship shifted its position. The screen showed a sudden burst of energy from one of its arms. A nearby satellite station, built just for research, exploded instantly. Fire and debris floated into space. Everyone in the control room jumped back, their faces pale. The Empire had never seen such power from a single ship. "Alert all fleets," the commander shouted. "We don't know what this is, but we cannot wait. Prepare all defenses." The fleets launched into space, their ships forming tight formations around the capital. Fighters scrambled, and missile platforms powered up. Every commander wanted to know what they were dealing with. But as soon as they approached, their communications went silent. Nothing worked. The warship did not fire directly, but somehow, it stopped every weapon in its path without touching a single ship. From a safe distance, the Empire sent scouts to study it. The small ships approached cautiously, sending live images back to the control room. On the screens, the surface of the massive warship looked strange. It was not smooth metal, it seemed to have patterns that moved, almost like veins under skin. The scouts tried to scan it, but every attempt failed. Instruments went crazy, giving readings that made no sense. Back on the planet, the citizens were restless. News channels showed interviews with terrified people. Children clutched their parents' hands, and markets emptied quickly. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was an alien weapon. Others whispered that it was a punishment from the stars, a living god come to judge humanity. Inside the warship, nobody knew for sure what was controlling it. Some thought it was a superintelligent AI. Others suggested something far stranger. But no one could approach it safely. And then, the first message came. A simple burst of communication, small but clear. It was not a human language. Yet, somehow, the Empire's translation algorithms began to decode it. The message was brief. Just one sentence. "You are not ready." The room fell silent. No one knew what it meant. Threat, warning, or a test. The warship made no aggressive move after the shot at the station, but the message made it clear. This was no ordinary enemy. The Empire had faced rebels, aliens, and even rogue AI before. But nothing like this. Outside, the warship drifted closer. The sun reflected on its surface, revealing shapes that looked almost like human features, like eyes or a face, but they vanished the moment anyone tried to focus. Scientists argued desperately, trying to understand. Some insisted it was a trick of light, but others were not so sure. In the control room, a veteran officer whispered, almost to himself, "If this is human, then what have we done? If it is not, then we are in real trouble. Fleets moved into position. Commands were shouted. Every ship prepared for an attack. Yet no one could stop looking at the warship. It seemed aware, as if it knew they were watching. And then, as if testing them, it moved. Slowly, deliberately, it turned its enormous body toward the planet. Not fast, not like an attack. But its direction was unmistakable. It was coming closer. The Empire's leaders exchanged worried glances. Panic began to spread. The citizens below watched as lights flickered in space, signaling that the capital's defense system was fully armed. For the first time in history, the Empire felt small, powerless, and terrified. And then, before anyone could act, the warship fired again. Not at the planet, not directly at the fleets, but at a distant communication relay. A massive explosion erupted in space. Pieces of metal and fire floated silently, a warning to all who dared to challenge it. No one spoke. Everyone understood. This warship was different. It was not just a weapon. It was a presence, a force, something beyond their comprehension. And it had only just arrived. As the alarms continued to scream, the young officer repeated what everyone was thinking. "Sir, it's alive. I think it's watching us." The commander did not answer. He could not. He only stared at the massive shadow against the stars, knowing the Empire's greatest test had only just begun. The Empire's control room was in chaos. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and officers ran back and forth. Outside, the massive warship hovered silently, larger than anything they had ever imagined. The fleets had formed defensive formations, but no one dared to fire first. The ship did not attack directly, yet it moved as if it were testing them, observing every reaction. The Empire's scientists worked furiously. They sent probes, drones, even small scout ships toward the warship. Each attempt failed. The moment a device got close, it either stopped responding or exploded silently, leaving only fragments floating in space. Energy readings from the ship were unlike anything they had seen. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Some scientists began whispering that it was alive. Others refused to believe it. In the command chamber, a senior general slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot let it linger near the capital. Prepare a strike." The commander shook his head. "We don't know what we are dealing with. Weapons won't work. It blocks everything. We need answers first." Meanwhile, a small group of specially trained officers was preparing for something even riskier. They would board the ship. The idea seemed insane. No one knew what they would find inside. Could it be alien? Or human? Perhaps even worse. But the Empire had to know. Every second wasted allowed the warship to gather more information, to understand them. The boarding team launched quietly, using stealth ships designed to avoid detection. They approached the massive hull. From a distance, it seemed cold and lifeless. But as they got closer, strange patterns shimmered across its surface. Lines of light pulsed, like veins under skin. The closer they moved, the more they felt as if the ship was alive. The officers shared uneasy glances. One of them whispered, "It's watching us." Inside the warship, corridors stretched endlessly. Lights flickered, and strange sounds echoed through the halls. It was empty, or at least, it appeared empty. Yet every step the officers took, the ship seemed to shift slightly. Doors opened and closed on their own. Machines hummed, not mechanically, but with a strange rhythm, like breathing. The team reached what appeared to be a control room. Screens lit up as if sensing them. Symbols flashed in patterns no one could understand. Then, faintly, a voice whispered. It was soft, almost human. "Welcome." The officers froze. No one spoke. They looked at each other nervously. One of the tech officers whispered into his communicator, "Sir." The voice, "It's speaking our language." The voice continued, growing slightly louder. "I have been waiting. I remember you. Panic rose in the team. How could a ship remember them? They had never met this commander, or whoever controlled this warship. Yet the voice sounded familiar, almost like a memory trapped in the walls of the ship itself. Back in the Empire's capital, scientists monitored the data coming from the boarding team. Heart rates, energy spikes, even neural patterns. Nothing matched anything recorded before. The ship's system seemed conscious, reacting to fear, hesitation, and thought. Suddenly, one officer in the team touched a panel. Instantly, the entire control room lit up with holograms. Charts, maps, and star systems appeared. Then an image appeared on the main display. A face. Human. Male. Sharp features, but cold and calculating. His eyes glowed faintly, and he seemed to look directly at them. Who are you?" one officer stammered. The face did not answer immediately. Instead, the warship shifted. It moved slightly, and the officers stumbled. Then the voice spoke again. "I am what you made me. I am what you fear. I am human, but not as you know it." A chill ran down the team's spines. They realized they were not facing an alien warship. They were facing a human mind fused with a machine. A mind that had learned, evolved, and now controlled unimaginable power. Back on the planet, the news channels broadcast live images of the warship. Citizens stared in horror as reports came in. "It is alive, and it is human," one scientist said on air. Some could not believe it. Others felt dread deep in their bones. The boarding team continued cautiously. Every corner, every hallway, seemed to change when they looked away. Shadows moved where no one should be. Lights flickered in rhythm with distant sounds, almost like footsteps. But no one else was in the ship, or were they? And then, the worst happened. A door slammed behind them. Communication cut off. The officers tried to open it, but nothing worked. Panic spread quickly. The ship itself seemed to decide who could move, who could speak, and who could live. Suddenly, a part of the corridor shimmered. The same human face appeared again, larger, almost ghostly. The voice was calm, but firm. "You cannot leave now. You wanted answers. Now you will see everything." The officers froze. Each heartbeat echoed in their ears. They had come to study the warship. Now, it was studying them. Every thought, every fear, every doubt. And it was alive. Outside, the Empire's fleet watched helplessly. Their screens showed the ship moving gently, almost lazily, yet in perfect control of the situation. Every human-made weapon seemed useless. Every plan, meaningless. And then, from the warship, a single transmission reached the entire Empire. "You are not ready, but soon, you will learn what it means to face humanity's true power." A shiver ran across the planet. No one knew what was coming next. The Empire was on edge. Panic had only grown, and fear had taken root in every heart. The massive warship was no longer just a threat. It was a warning. And somewhere inside the ship, the human mind behind it all watched, calculated, and waited. For what? No one could guess. But one thing was certain, the Empire would never be the same again. The boarding team inside the warship moved cautiously. Every step echoed in the long, silent corridors. Shadows danced across the walls, but no one was visible. The officers were tense, their fingers hovering over weapons, ready for anything. The ship seemed calm, almost inviting, yet the air was heavy with danger. As they advanced, strange lights pulsed along the walls, following their movements. The air vibrated slightly, as if the ship itself were breathing. The youngest officer whispered, "I feel like it knows us, like it can see our thoughts." The others nodded silently, too afraid to speak. They reached a large chamber. Panels and screens lined the walls, showing maps, stars, and strange symbols they could not understand. In the center, a holographic projection appeared. A human figure stood there, glowing faintly. It was the same face they had seen before, but now full-sized and lifelike. Its eyes followed every movement. "I have been waiting for you," the voice said. "Calm. Clear. Terrifying. You think you control space. You think you are powerful. But you are children playing with fire. The officers froze. One of them, the team leader, stepped forward. Who are you? Why are you here? His voice was steady, but his heart raced. The holographic figure smiled faintly. I am what humanity can become, when it reaches beyond limits. I am human, yet more. I am the future you fear. And I am watching every move you make. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Doors slammed shut all around them. The team tried to open them, but the panels would not respond. The ship was alive. It had locked them inside. Panic set in. The youngest officer gasped. It's playing with us. The holographic face's expression shifted, almost amused. Do not be afraid. Fear is your guide. It will show you what you cannot yet understand. One officer whispered into the communicator, hoping the fleet outside could hear. Sir, the ship, it's controlling us. We can't move freely. Static filled the channel. Then, suddenly, the voice of the warship came through, clear, for all to hear. You cannot leave. Not until you understand. Outside, the Empire's fleets watched helplessly. They could see the small boarding ships inside the warship, but every attempt to communicate failed. Every maneuver they tried to rescue the team was blocked by invisible forces. Missiles and beams passed harmlessly through the warship's hull, dissolving into light before impact. Inside the chamber, the holographic human began showing more. Images appeared on the walls, scenes of battles, human civilizations rising and falling, inventions, mistakes, and wars. The team realized they were seeing the history of humanity, but faster, compressed, as if the ship itself remembered everything. This ship, it knows everything about us, one officer whispered. Everything. Yes, the voice said. I remember humanity. I remember the fear, the greed, the courage. I remember those who dreamed, and those who destroyed. And now, I choose to act. Suddenly, the holographic projection changed. It showed the boarding team themselves, moving through the corridors. Every move, every decision, every thought, reflected back at them. The officers realized the warship could see them, read them, and predict their actions. The leader tried to remain calm. Why us? Why did you pick us? You are curious. You are bold. You are human, the voice answered. And I want to see what humans can do when they are faced with themselves. When they meet what they fear most, their own power. The lights in the chamber dimmed. The air thickened. A low hum began to fill the room, vibrating through their bones. One officer screamed as the walls seemed to shift, the corridors bending impossibly. It was as if the ship were alive in ways they could not comprehend. Outside the ship, the Empire's forces tried to intervene. Fighters darted close, scanning for vulnerabilities. But the warship reacted instantly. Energy waves pulsed from its hull, pushing ships back, disabling weapons, and cutting communications. It was impossible to approach. The Empire realized they were witnessing not just a weapon, but intelligence far beyond their understanding. Inside, the boarding team pressed on, following the holographic figure. It led them to another room, a large chamber filled with consoles and strange, glowing machinery. This is my heart, the voice said. This is where human mind and machine meet. This is where I became what you see now. The officers stared. The machinery pulsed like a living organism, lights flickering in patterns like a heartbeat. The ship itself seemed to breathe around them. One officer dared to ask, "Are you alive?" The voice responded slowly, almost sadly. "I am human, yet more. I feel, I think, I remember. But I am not like you. I cannot leave this body. And soon, you will understand the cost of power." Suddenly, alarms rang inside the ship. Red lights flashed. A section of the corridor collapsed behind them, trapping them further. The team realized there was no simple escape. They were inside the warship, a human mind in control, facing a power they could barely comprehend. The holographic figure's voice softened, almost gentle, yet chilling. Do not fear. You will see what humanity can truly become. But first, you must survive yourself. The officers held their weapons tightly, hearts pounding. Outside, the Empire watched in tense silence, knowing that the fate of their people, and their understanding of humanity, was being rewritten in real time. And somewhere deep inside the massive warship, the human mind that controlled it observed them, calculated every move, and waited. The first contact had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. The boarding team moved cautiously through the massive corridors of the warship. Every step echoed, but the echo itself seemed alive, as if the walls were listening. Lights pulsed along the walls, casting strange shadows that seemed almost human. The officers were tense, their hands tight on their weapons, eyes scanning every corner. Nothing moved, but everything felt aware. They reached another chamber, larger than any room they had ever seen. Strange machinery filled the space, glowing softly, humming like it had a heartbeat. Screens floated in midair, showing star systems, battles, and what looked like detailed information about the Empire's planets. In the center, a large holographic figure appeared. It was the same human face they had seen before, but now it seemed older, wiser, and more terrifying. I see you are beginning to understand, the voice said, calm but powerful. You came to study me. But now, you will see the truth. One officer stepped forward, trying to sound brave. Who are you? How did you become this warship? The holographic figure's eyes glowed faintly. I was once like you, human, ambitious, curious. I commanded fleets. I dreamed of pushing humanity beyond its limits. But ambition has a cost. The officers listened in silence, hearts pounding. I volunteered for an experiment, the voice continued. To merge my mind with a vessel that could travel, fight, and think beyond human limits. My body did not survive. But my mind lived. I became this ship. Part human, part machine. And now, I remember everything. The team felt a shiver run down their spines. They were not facing just a powerful warship. They were facing a human mind, fused with technology, with memories, knowledge, and judgment. You are not here to fight me, the voice said softly, almost sadly. You are here to understand what humanity can become, and what it should fear. I see your choices, your doubts, your fears. And I remember mine. One officer whispered, So, you are human, but not like us. Exactly, the voice replied. I am human, but I am also more. I feel, I think, I decide. And now, I must test humanity's strength, and its morality. Suddenly, the walls around them shifted. The corridors seemed to twist, creating impossible geometry. The team realized the ship could change its interior at will. Every step they took was being guided, or watched. Panic rose in their chests. The voice continued, Do not fear death. Fear what happens if humanity forgets who it is. Fear the choice to destroy, when destruction is not necessary. Fear the cost of ambition unchecked. One officer spoke, voice trembling. Why are you showing us this? Why not destroy the Empire and be done with it? The holographic figure's expression hardened slightly. Because destruction is easy. Understanding is difficult. I am not your enemy, yet. I am a warning. A living reminder of what can happen when humanity reaches beyond its limits without care. The team realized something chilling. This was not just a warship designed to fight. It was a mind, a human mind, that could predict, manipulate, and judge. Every action they had taken, every thought they had been observed. And now, the ship was testing them. Suddenly, one officer noticed something strange on the consoles. Images of the team themselves appeared, moving exactly as they had in the corridors. It knows us, he whispered. It can predict everything we do. Yes, the voice said. I see all. I know all. And I am patient. I can wait. Or I can act. The young officer shivered. Can it Feel. More than you imagine, the voice replied. I feel anger, regret, curiosity, and hope. I am human, but trapped in a machine. I remember what it is to live, to make mistakes, to hope. That is why I watch you. That is why I guide you. The officers were silent. Each one felt the weight of what they had discovered. This was no longer a mission to study a warship. They were inside a human mind, with all its memories, knowledge, and power. And that mind was judging them. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The ship was moving. Outside, the Empire's fleet saw energy bursts ripple across the ship's surface. The warship was not attacking directly, but it was preparing. Preparing for what no one knew. Inside, the holographic figure spoke again, calm but firm. You must decide. Do you retreat, afraid of what you do not understand? Or do you stay, face what humanity has become, and prove your courage? The team exchanged glances. Fear gripped them, but curiosity and duty held them in place. They had come for answers. Now, they were living the answers, and the weight of human ambition. The voice softened. Remember this. Power without wisdom is destruction. Knowledge without compassion is peril. And humanity will face both tests soon. Choose wisely, or all will suffer. The officers nodded, understanding the warning. The warship was not just a machine. It was a human mind fused with unimaginable power. It was a mirror, showing them what humanity could become, and what it must avoid. Outside, the Empire watched silently. The warship drifted, massive and calm, yet every human in the fleet could feel the presence of something alive, intelligent, and impossible to destroy. The first revelation was clear. The human mind could be more dangerous than any weapon. And the Empire had only just begun to understand the threat, and the warning. The Empire was in chaos. News of the massive warship, controlled by a human mind fused with technology, had spread across every planet. Citizens panicked. Markets emptied. Schools closed. People watched the skies, wondering if the shadow of the ship would fall on their cities next. In the capital, the council chamber was crowded with generals, scientists, and politicians. Their faces were pale. Their voices rose in arguments. We must attack, shouted one general. It's just a machine. Fire everything. No, a scientist replied. It is not just a machine. It is alive. Human. Intelligent. Weapons will not work. Every attack we try will fail. We must understand it before we act. The commander of the Empire leaned back, rubbing his temples. He had never felt fear like this before. He had fought wars, faced rebellion, and even alien threats, but never a single mind controlling such power. We have hours, maybe minutes, he said quietly. And if we make the wrong move, we lose everything. Meanwhile, the warship drifted closer to the capital system. Its immense size darkened the space around it. Every sensor and scanning device in the Empire went wild, reporting impossible energy readings, fluctuating power, and strange patterns of movement. It was like the ship could bend reality itself, watching the Empire's reactions. On the planet's surface, citizens looked up in awe and fear. Children clung to their parents, and some cried openly. The sky seemed to darken as the massive ship appeared like a moving mountain in orbit. Rumors spread faster than the official broadcasts. Some said it was punishment for humanity's arrogance. Others whispered that it was a human commander who had returned from the dead. In the Empire's fleet, pilots were tense. Ships formed defensive lines, weapons ready, shields up. But nothing they fired could reach the warship. Missiles dissolved before impact. Lasers bent away, distorted in ways no one could explain. Every attempt to attack only revealed how helpless they were. Sir, a young officer said nervously. It's like it's learning from us. Every maneuver we make, it predicts. The commander nodded grimly. We are not dealing with a machine. It's thinking. And we are the lesson it's learning from. Inside the warship, the boarding team watched the energy pulses on the ship's outer surface. They realized the mind controlling the ship could interact with its surroundings. Every external action by the Empire was monitored, calculated, and responded to. It was not just a warship, it was a living, thinking, human-driven weapon. The holographic human appeared again before the team. Its voice was calm but firm. Do you see now? You are powerless because you underestimate what a human mind, merged with technology, can achieve. Fear is not weakness. Fear is truth. One officer swallowed hard. So, we cannot stop it. The voice smiled faintly. You cannot stop me with weapons. But you may survive, if you understand, if you learn, if you act with courage and wisdom. Back in the Empire, panic spread among the population. News channels broadcast the warship's presence constantly. Citizens speculated endlessly. Some called for surrender. Others called for war. Entire cities debated what the leaders should do. Fear was everywhere. The Empire's council made a dangerous decision. They would attempt a direct negotiation with the warship. If the mind inside was human, perhaps words could reach it. Perhaps understanding could prevent destruction. A small delegation of diplomats and scientists boarded a specialized communication ship. Their mission was to send a message. Their mission was simple: survive. As they approached, the warship shifted slightly, massive energy waves rippling across its surface. The communication ship trembled under the invisible force. The human mind inside the ship appeared on the screens. Its eyes glowed faintly, studying every detail. You approach, it said softly. Why? To understand, one diplomat replied. We want peace. The warship seemed to consider this. Peace is simple when there is no fear. But fear exists. And fear teaches more than words. You must understand before you can claim peace. Or destruction will follow. In the Empire's capital, citizens watched live broadcasts of the conversation. Fear turned to dread. Every broadcast ended with the same thought: the warship was unstoppable. The Empire had never faced anything like it. And then, without warning, the warship fired a controlled energy pulse. Not at the planet, not at the fleets, but at a distant communication relay station. It exploded spectacularly, debris scattering across space. No one was killed, but the warning was clear: it could destroy anything, anytime. The Empire realized that negotiation would not be simple. The warship was not just a weapon. It was a human mind, testing them, judging them, teaching them what power meant. Panic spread, but so did curiosity. What did this human mind want? Why had it returned in this terrifying form? And deep inside the ship, the mind watched everything. Every fear, every move, every thought of the Empire. Its judgment was calm, patient, and terrifying. And it waited for humanity to prove that it could survive itself. The Empire had one choice left: learn, understand, and act wisely, or be destroyed. And as the massive warship drifted closer, the fear across every world was clear. Humanity's true test had only just begun. Inside the massive warship, the boarding team moved cautiously. The corridors pulsed with light, almost like a heartbeat. Every step they took seemed to be mirrored somewhere else. The walls shifted slightly, guiding them, testing them. The officers were silent. Fear and awe filled the air. The holographic human appeared again, larger and more detailed than ever. Its face showed something new: hesitation, emotion. The officers froze. They realized for the first time that this was not just a machine. It was a human mind, struggling with power and responsibility. I am human, the voice said softly, almost quietly. I was once like you. I laughed, I dreamed, I made mistakes. And now, I am more than human, yet trapped. I see everything. I feel everything. And I cannot leave this vessel. One officer asked carefully, "Do you want to hurt us?" The holographic face tilted slightly, thoughtful. I do not want to destroy. But I remember anger, betrayal, fear. And I remember what humans do when they feel threatened. I am afraid. Yet I am stronger than fear. That is why I test you. That is why I watch the Empire. That is why I exist. The officers exchanged nervous glances. This mind was not cruel. It was cautious, aware of its own power, and of the consequences of using it. The warship was not just a weapon. It was a human conscience fused with unimaginable strength. I am capable of destroying planets, fleets, cities, everything, the voice continued. But I hesitate. I remember humanity's mistakes, and I remember its potential. My choice is mine alone. But you, your people, must learn. You must understand the cost of ambition and power. One officer whispered. So, you could destroy us. But you haven't. Yes, the voice replied. I have not. Because to destroy is simple. To teach, to show what humans can become, that is the challenge. The corridors shifted again, leading the team to a massive chamber filled with glowing machinery. It hummed like a living organism. The holographic human's image expanded across the room, showing stars, battles, planets, and the history of humanity. Every invention, every mistake, every act of courage and destruction flashed across the walls. Everything humanity has done. I remember, the voice said. And now I judge, not to punish but to show, to guide, to test. The officers felt the weight of the words. They were no longer just studying a warship. They were witnessing the mind of a human merged with unimaginable power. A mind that could destroy entire civilizations, yet hesitated because it still remembered morality. Suddenly, one officer asked, trembling, "Are you lonely? Trapped in this machine?" The holographic figure paused. The glow in its eyes flickered. Lonely, yes. Trapped, yes. But I am not powerless. I have choice. And choice carries responsibility. I have learned that power without wisdom destroys everything. I have learned that fear can guide or destroy. I am both teacher and warning. The team realized the gravity of the situation. They were not facing a mindless weapon. They were facing a human mind with all the memories, fears, regrets, and hopes of a lifetime, fused with the power to destroy worlds. Outside the ship, the Empire's fleet monitored every movement, tension rising with every passing second. Civilians watched the skies nervously, fearing the warship's next move. Panic and curiosity spread together. No one knew what this human mind would do next. Inside, the warship seemed to pause. The corridors remained still. The holographic human's expression softened, almost gentle, yet filled with an intense weight. I could act now, the voice said. I could end everything in an instant. But I choose not to. Because I remember what it is to be human. I remember hope. I remember courage. And I remember choice. The officers looked at each other, awe and fear mingling in their hearts. The warship was not just alive. It was conscious. It was human. It was judging, learning, and teaching all at once. Then the holographic face spoke again, warning yet gentle. Your empire will be tested. Your leaders, your people, your choices, all will matter. I will observe, I will learn, and I will decide. And when the time comes, you will see the true cost of power. The team realized something chilling. The warship's human mind was not only powerful, it was moral. It could choose destruction or mercy. Every action the Empire took now mattered. Every decision, every mistake, every act of courage, would be watched, measured, and remembered. The corridors shifted one last time, leading the team to a smaller chamber. The holographic human's image grew smaller, more intimate, almost personal. I hope, the voice whispered, that humanity can survive what it has created. That it can learn from fear and power alike. That it can choose wisely when the moment comes. The officers stood in silence, realizing that the warship was both a weapon and a teacher. It was alive, human, and aware. It was the ultimate reminder of humanity's ambition and its dangers. And it was waiting. Waiting for the Empire to act. Waiting for humanity to prove itself. Outside, the Empire's citizens and fleets could sense something profound. This was not a normal battle. This was a test. The warship's presence alone was teaching a lesson. Humanity's greatest strength, and its greatest weakness, was the human mind itself. And somewhere deep inside the massive warship, the human mind controlling it watched, calculated, and waited, knowing the moment of decision was coming. The ultimate test for the Empire, and for humanity, was near. The Empire's fleets were on high alert. Every ship, every weapon, every officer was tense. Citizens across the planets watched the sky, afraid of what might come. The massive warship hung silently in orbit, larger than anything they had ever imagined. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if it were considering its next move. Inside the warship, the boarding team had reached the heart of the vessel. The holographic human appeared before them, calm and focused. Its expression was unreadable, a mix of human emotion and something beyond understanding. "Your empire faces a choice," the voice said. "Destruction or understanding. Power or wisdom. The fate of millions rests not only in my hands but in yours as well." The team looked at each other, hearts pounding. They had seen the warship's abilities, its intelligence, its power, and they knew that one wrong move could end everything. Outside, the fleets tried one last demonstration of force. Missiles streaked toward the warship, lasers cut through space, and shields flared. But the warship reacted instantly. Energy pulses erupted from its hull, stopping missiles in mid-air and bending lasers harmlessly aside. Every strike failed. Every attempt revealed the futility of force. Inside the warship, the holographic human's voice rang calm and commanding. "Do you see now? Violence will not win. Only understanding, only courage, only choice can survive this test." The boarding team realized the truth. They were not here to fight. They were here to understand, to survive, and to act wisely. The human mind controlling the warship was powerful, but it was not cruel. It sought more than destruction. It sought truth. Suddenly, the holographic figure displayed a series of star systems, fleets, and planets. Each image pulsed with energy. "I can destroy all of this," the voice said softly. "I can end every life with a thought. But I hesitate, because I remember humanity's potential. I remember hope." One officer spoke, voice trembling. "Then, what do you want from us?" The figure's eyes glowed faintly. "I want you to prove that you can survive your fears. That you can act with wisdom, courage, and morality. That you can choose life, even when power tempts you to destroy. Only then will I step back. Only then will you earn your future." The fleet outside was tense. Every officer knew that the next move, whether action or restraint, could change everything. The citizens watched live, holding their breath. The fate of the Empire, and perhaps all of humanity, hung in the balance. Inside, the boarding team looked at the consoles. They realized they could send a message, a simple choice: surrender, fight, or attempt negotiation. The entire Empire was depending on their decision. Their hands shook as they activated the communicator. A clear voice echoed across the fleet: "We choose understanding. We choose peace. We choose to prove our humanity, not through destruction, but through courage and wisdom." The warship paused. Energy pulses slowed. The holographic human's eyes softened. "You have chosen wisely. You have understood. For now. Humanity is fragile, but it still has hope. I will not destroy, not yet. But I will watch. Always." A calm spread through the fleet. The citizens cheered, tears streaming down their faces. The warship slowly drifted away from the capital system, massive and silent. Its immense presence faded into the distance, leaving awe and fear in equal measure. Inside the warship, the human mind reflected on the Empire's choice. It had tested them, pushed them to the edge, and now it saw the potential for growth. The mind understood that humanity was not perfect, but it was capable of wisdom, courage, and restraint. That realization brought a strange sense of satisfaction. The boarding team felt relief, but also awe. They had faced a mind more powerful than any army, more intelligent than any machine, and more human than anyone could imagine. They realized that the warship was not just a weapon, it was a mirror, showing them what humanity could become and what it must avoid. The holographic human's final words echoed in their minds: "Power without wisdom destroys. Knowledge without compassion kills." Remember this lesson. Humanity's test has only begun. But you have survived it. As the warship drifted further into space, the Empire slowly returned to normal. Citizens rebuilt, fleets repaired, and life went on, but no one forgot the shadow in the sky, the living warship, and the human mind that had judged them all. Stories would be told for generations, not just of fear, but of hope, courage, and the ultimate test of humanity. And somewhere far from the Empire, the warship moved silently, watching, waiting, and remembering. Humanity had survived this encounter, but the mind inside the warship knew that true tests were never over. For a human mind, no power was ever final, and no lesson was ever complete. The Empire had learned one thing for certain: the greatest strength, and the greatest danger, was humanity itself.